the weeping lasted all night. I know that joy comes in the morning light. So I march on to a new song, 'cause I've been marching to that old one way too long. And I gotta move on and take new steps every day, 'cause I know there is got to be another way. And a brighter day, so I march on. Hello, welcome to P.U.R.E Live. It is Friday night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, and you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And we brought back somebody I promised I would bring back, but before we get to him, we're going to get our sponsors out of the way as usual, so here we go. Yes. And I had a little meeting with my sisters this week. It's been a while since I've been on one of these calls, but they are so supportive, so supportive. And they help you get focused, help you get your priorities in order so that you can move forward and be successful. Like, who doesn't want to be a part of a group like that, right? So moving on to Motives Cosmetics. Now, normally I'd say that's what I'm wearing, but tonight I am bare bones. No makeup tonight, but their makeup, their cosmetics are wonderful. So here we go. All right, you guys. You're welcome. Hi, Yasmin. That's my sis from the organization I told y'all about, Dreamers. Okay. Now, for the Motives Cosmetics, you can get it on my website. Also, I'm always going to show you that Abella eyewear, those shades, those blue blockers, you can get them on my website, asiajamal.com or .net. And you'll see right here at the top, you can get Cosmetics or Bella Eyewear. Bella Eyewear, you will get 30% off. You're welcome. All right, y'all, let's dig into it. Let's get into the nitty gritty with our guests. Welcome back, Tito. Hi.
Hey, Asia. Hey, everybody. So glad privileged and honored that you would have me back a second time. I guess I didn't mess up enough the first time, so we're going to
You didn't mess up at all. Very,
learn.
very, very entertaining. And there was so much we didn't get to touch on. So we're gonna get further into your path, your vision, all of that good stuff.
Absolutely.
So just in case those of you, that are here now missed it last time, where are you from?
I'm originally from Austin, Texas, born and raised, but I went to school at Northern Illinois University outside of Chicago in DeKalb. And then as a young 23-year-old, I made the leap to Chicago to start my music career. And
Showtime.
that's right. And I lived there freelancing as a jazz trumpet player and also began teaching during that time for around 10 years until this opportunity at the University of Illinois down in Urbana-Champaign opened up for me. It was a place where I could uh, teach full time in one place as opposed to living out of my car, teaching at three different places and doing gigs and all of that stuff. I still do gigs, of course. I still am a performer, but I'm a professor during the school year here at the University of Illinois at Urbana Champaign. Go Illini, ILL.
Okay. All right, you better represent.
That's
That's
right.
what I'm talking about. Excellent, excellent. No, last time we were on, we talked so much about your background and your family and how you came to be. And what an amazing story. And we got into even your recordings, but we never got a chance to actually dig into what you're doing now that much. But before we dig in, I want to show people again this lovely promo for your music. So here we go. Yes.
Even I get excited when I see that. I love that.
Right? And last time you were on, you had just released this, right?
That's exactly right. In fact, yeah, the last interview was on the drop date of the album when it hit all of the streaming outlets and everything. So now we're 2 weeks into it. It's been getting
Yeah.
some excellent positive reviews. I'm super excited. And if anybody's interested, um, the best place that I'm kind of pushing people to go check out the album. You can even listen to the entire album. And if you'd like to purchase it digitally, or even purchase it as a CD unit, I'll mail it to you. The best place to go is Bandcamp, and it's my name is Tito Carrillo, two R's and two L's dot bandcamp.com. Or if you just want to go to bandcamp.com and then just search Urbanessence Tito, you'll find it right there.
Excellent, excellent. So great.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. I don't know if you guys went last week to go and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to his YouTube, we're gonna get into that too.
That's right.
I did.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's kick it off there. So first of all, let me ask you: do you just do instrumentals when you perform or when you record? Do you ever work with any vocalists? What do you do?
This is my second solo album. Albums are obviously very expensive to produce, and I've been fortunate that
Mhm.
both of my albums I've been awarded grants here from the University of Illinois, who actually
Oh,
they
nice.
do support their professors very well here, and I don't have on my particular two albums. I really chose to focus more on original compositions that are going to feature the instrumentalists more. Of course, I play with and have recorded with many different vocalists over the years, and I would love actually my next project that I'm already in the process of envisioning is going to be an album more on the softer side with ballads
Mm,
and with Latin American, what's called boleros, which is our version of
mm,
ballads. And
okay.
I'm hoping to feature a vocalist or two on that because I think that would be
Nice. Exciting. I'll be
yes.
following you.
Okay. Okay.
It sounded a little stalkerish, didn't it? Following you. On social media, people. Okay.
Right. Right.
So, what I want to know is where your vision is right now. So obviously you talked about before you performed so many places, you traveled around and played with so many great musicians, and now you are a professor. It
Yeah.
seems like you have a focus on teaching and sharing your gift. Can you explain why? Let's start with the why first.
It's a great question. And I want to say that it didn't start out that way. You know, my early developmental years were really super focused, laser focused on becoming a great performer and kind of shedding, we call it practicing shedding as jazz musicians every day, trying to address my weaknesses and trying to be inspired. Um, Teaching actually grew out of my early performance career. I actually had a friend, you know, I was starting to work in Chicago in the mid 90s, and I
Mhm.
started realizing, wow, no one's getting married in the months of January and February. It's just too cold, and
I did.
oh, you did. Look at you.
February.
There weren't enough of people like you. So I noticed that I was playing full time, but January and February were always very like thin months as far as gigs were concerned. And I had a friend who said, "Hey, I have a small studio out in the suburbs of about 8 students. I'm moving away from town. Would you take them over?" And honestly, those 8 students quickly turned into 25 students that I was going out
Mm,
2 days a week. And that was like enough for me with all of the other stuff that I was doing. But I taught trumpet students, just basically pulling them out of band practice, pulling them out of lunch, and things like that. I did that for 5 years, and you know what?
wow.
I started actually really enjoying the process of, oh yeah, these are things that I used to be there's certain things that my students couldn't really do that I maybe didn't really have too much of an issue with, but I tried
Mhm,
to really challenge myself to step into their mind a little bit and figure out, okay, what's the problem here? And there's certain things that I noticed that I would say that seemed to help most all of my students. And then I'd
hmm,
have one student who had this problem that maybe all the others didn't have, but I would really try to work with that student. And I just became a better teacher, and I kind of liked the problem solving. I enjoyed the problem solving aspect of teaching. And from that experience at a high school, I
mhm.
then was invited to start teaching at a college at Roosevelt, which is the Chicago College of Performing Arts, right downtown Roosevelt near Wabash and
I know
Michigan.
where that is. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
started teaching there. So I left my high school in the suburbs so that I could stay in the city. And that was a whole other world because now instead of just teaching trumpet lessons, I was teaching jazz, which was my real love, and teaching
Mm,
improvisation. I was even teaching jazz history. You know, teaching for me,
nice.
teaching for me just it was a different way of touching people. You know, when you perform, um, if you were to ask me what do I love about performing, I
Mhm.
actually love the connection that you make with the audience, and feeling like, instead of feeling like I'm going to show this audience all the stuff that I can do, no, it's more like I'm gonna share some love with them through music, you
Nice.
know,
Yeah.
and I love it. It's wonderful when the audience really responds, and like they're following you, you know, and they're feeling you.
Yeah. Does
You
it
know,
like feed
you know
into
that.
your mood? Yeah, I do know that feeling. Does it like feed you and make you want to, yeah, interact with them more when they respond to you like that? Does it like get you hyped up more?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's when the special moments happen, when they're feeling it, or sometimes I'll play a performance and I don't feel that I played necessarily, that wasn't my best. I felt I could do better, and people will still come up to me and go, "Wow, your playing really touched me," and
Um,
I was almost tearing up hearing you play, and it's just like, wow, when you can touch people on a deeper level like that. Well, teaching is different because, but it's different, but it's similar in the sense that I'm sharing my process of how I got better. I'm even sharing my own struggles because I'm forever a student of the trumpet. You see, like I'm still learning to this
mhm.
day how to make this thing sing, how to make it easier, and all of these
Yeah.
things. And so when you can help a student make a breakthrough in their own playing, they just feel like, wow, not indebted to you, but you've changed their life for the better because you've helped them make
Right.
this thing easier, and now they can express themselves in a clearer way, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm wondering, and you taking things a step further and saying, okay, well, now I'm teaching jazz. How deep do you get into those lessons? Like, how far back in history are you pulling for these jazz lessons?
All the way to New Orleans, Louis Armstrong, and even his mentor before him, Joe King Oliver. I mean, we go all the way back. It's important to understand the framework of jazz, and it's kind of a part of what where jazz at the collegiate level comes under a lot of scrutiny. I feel because sometimes certain programs don't go way back, but
Hmm.
I will remind my own students that when I was a freshman in college, the artist I listened to the most at that time was Louis Armstrong, because he
Okay.
embodied everything a jazz musician was trying to do.
Mm.
He was a virtuoso on his instrument. He had the sound of the blues coming from his soul. He had
Oh,
this
yeah.
incredible rhythmic swing feel. He had this imagination, this creativity. And then, of course, he literally was a singer, in practically
Right.
invented scat singing, or improvising, scat solo. Uh,
Right.
when he
Making
famously,
the sounds of the instruments.
yeah,
Hmm.
the story goes he famously forgot the words. He was recording, I think, a tune called Heebie Jeebies, and he forgot the lyrics, and so he just
Oh,
started.
yeah.
Yeah, so
I
he
didn't
just
hear that story.
so he just started
Wow.
scatting a solo, and that became its own art form. And what's amazing is that he plays the trumpet the same way that he scats. Not the same sound, not the
Right.
same timbre, but you hear it. There's like this incredible connection with his human voice, and the way his style on the trumpet. And so I
Mhm.
share that with my students. We listen to them. We actually study. We will transcribe, which means you learn every note of their solos, and then they
Mhm.
perform them with them. So we're making sure we get the style right. And then we go all the way through the lineage of jazz trumpet players like Dizzy Gillespie and Miles Davis, and then
Mm.
all the way to contemporary artists as well, which I think is very important for any young musician to know that, hey, there's musicians my age, meaning their age, out
Right.
right now doing something, and they have to have an ear for what's happening in the music now, 2022.
Right. It's not just some music from way back when.
Right.
It's going on right now.
It's happening
Yes.
right now, and people are creating right now.
Absolutely. So, would Louis Armstrong be your favorite? Or do you have another overall favorite jazz musician?
Ooh, that's too hard. You know, that's too hard. I mean,
I
you got to.
had to
It's like who's your favorite this week is what it's more like. But
ask. Okay.
I will say that I've had favorites all along that I decided to just focus on for the purpose of study. And I've
Okay.
I've gone I've
Mhm.
gone through phases. And so that first phase when I was 19 was with Louis Armstrong. The very next year, I switched to the great Freddie Hubbard. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Freddie, but he came to prominence in the 1960s and had some very
Okay.
popular albums in the 70s. And boy, did I go through a really strong Freddie Hubbard phase where I was listening to as much as I could. Back then we didn't have Spotify and all of the
Right.
YouTube, so I
YouTube. Yeah.
I went I went to my Tower record store, and I could afford to buy this album,
Wow.
but not that
Yeah.
album. And so I would
Mhm.
take home my Freddie Hubbard album, Ready for Freddie, and I would wear the thing out over and over. And so, but other players who've had a huge impact on me are Miles Davis, Clifford Brown, and then more contemporary artists like New Orleans born Nicholas Payton, who's out there playing now, and a great trumpet player originally from Texas who we just lost him about 3 or 4 years ago, Roy Hargrove, who
Mm.
he was really the first who made the bridge um, between New Orleans music and jazz, and took it on to soul and R&B and
Hmm.
funk and hip hop. And
Okay.
it was when Roy Hargrove came out on the scene. Uh, he played with all of the older established jazz musicians, but
Mhm.
he's the one he formed his own group, which was more of what we would call neo soul now, perhaps you could call it that. It
Okay.
was soul, R&B, and funk. They had vocalists, they had synthesizers and keyboards, and they had rappers. And he's, you know, um, there's a movement. There's quite a few people now, thanks to Nicholas Payton, they're drawing attention that this is, when we talk about jazz, jazz is a very general term. um,
Hmm.
Prefers
Mhm.
to use the term Black American music because that's where the music come from. This music is an expression of the African American experience in America, and I don't care what color you are. There've always been non-blacks who've played this music since the very beginning. But I think
Absolutely.
it's important to acknowledge where this music comes from, I
Thank you and amen. Um,
think.
so I want to get into this other thing that you're doing that I want to talk about. But
Yes.
before we get into that, I'm gonna take a break because we're also gonna play some more music. You're
Yes.
welcome. Yeah, so we're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna do the find the fake because y'all didn't get it right last time. Get it together, okay? Before I take this break, for those of you that are watching via YouTube, this is what I want you to do. Thank you.
Right.
Subscribe.
Hit that sub button.
Yes. All right, y'all. We're gonna take a small break, and then we're gonna get into find the fake. All right, here we go. Hi, I'm Asia Jamal Rogers, and I'm a singer, songwriter, choreographer, voice actor, and I am the creator and talk show host of P.U.R.E Live. P.U.R.E is an acronym for Perfectly Undefined Raw Elegance. So naturally, we want our content to be pure, raw, and elegant. It airs live every Friday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube and Facebook. And if you'd like to see all of the episodes, you can reach it at asiajamal.com, ASIAJAMAL.com. Or if you'd like to be on the show, you can reach me at asia@asiajamal.com. Hope to see you soon. I always do that little snap at the end.
I love that. Very classy.
Thank you. Thank you, producers, who are my parents.
Oh,
They're awesomely talented, aren't they? They
yes.
are also the creators of what we're about to do, find the fake. So the objective of this game is to pay attention to all of the statements that are listed, and you are to guess which one is the fake. If you guess it correctly, you can win a prize. So here we go. Let's find the fake. Yeah. Okay. We're not gonna tell you yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. So, what I want to talk about now is what you are doing here.
Yes.
This YouTube channel. Y'all see this? Take it down, write it down, because I subscribed and now you must too, because I said so. So,
Please do.
tell us about it. Tell us why you started this in the first place.
First of all, the name of the channel is Jazz Mind with Tito Carrillo. I figured Carrillo, sometimes people will misspell it, and it's a very common thing, but Jazz Mind's a lot easier to remember. I started this channel because I had been getting a lot of requests for tutorials and lessons, and with a large family, I've got 4 children myself. I've got this demanding job as a professor here at the university, and I'm a band leader, and I do travel a little bit as well. There's just not really any margin for me to take on more students. So we finally moved to a house last year where I had my first dedicated space, my office, that I could set up the way I wanted to. And I had been planning on putting this together for 2 years, to be honest with you. And I was so nervous to post even one video. I gotta say, this whole YouTube channel experience is it's actually me overcoming my own fears and facing them and getting my content out. The channel deals primarily with teaching jazz improvisation, the process of it, because it's an overwhelming topic. For a lot of people, if you don't put music in front of them, like actual paper in front of them, they feel like they're jumping off a cliff or something. And so I try to help students learn the mindset of what it takes to improvise and then give them tools to do so. There's also a large component that deals with learning how to play the trumpet and make that easier as well, kind of giving pro tips, you could say, since I've been a professional for 25 years. And then there's one other. I did say that's a pretty good resume, right?
Yeah.
And then another aspect, the third aspect of Jazz Mind is just motivation and encouragement for all artists and musician types. Because as you know, this is a grind. This is we're
Oh,
constantly
yes.
right. We're constantly out there being scrutinized, oftentimes, and judged, and we want to put out our best content, and it can be a bit overwhelming, especially when a lot of people are working really hard and they don't feel they're getting back the fruit as much as they would like, you know. And
Yeah,
so I have a series called Motivational Mondays for musicians,
I
and it's
saw
just
that.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, and so it's been quite successful actually, and it's pretty amazing that you know I'm a teacher and I teach a lot of young people, but I'm seeing a lot of veteran musicians respond to it, especially from Chicago who know me, and they're like, Tito, thank you for this lesson.
Nice.
This is what I needed to hear.
That's not, doesn't that feel good?
Oh, absolutely. This is a whole new level of creativity for me, a new outlet for my creativity. You know, I have my teaching here, but
Mhm.
it's very dedicated to the students here who are students at the University of Illinois. Now I'm getting feedback from people from Germany, people from the UK,
Okay.
all around the world, Italy, telling me, "Wow, you know, your teaching style. This is exactly what I've been looking for." So
That's nice.
it's
That's
amazing.
so nice. You just widened your classroom, opened it up to the world.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. It's a
Absolutely.
beautiful thing. Beautiful, beautiful. I appreciate that. That's like with this show, I've learned, I have people all over the world that have, looked at the show and commented on the show. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know people from other countries are watching and listening. So this is great, to be able to share with everybody people like you that they
Yes.
might know about.
That's right. There's another reason that I put it out because I'm not old. You know, I feel quite young at heart, but I will be turning 50 at the end of this year, and
What?
can you believe that? Yeah.
Good genes. Okay.
and and so my generation, we did not grow up with our lives in the limelight of social media and all of that. It's really kind of
Mhm.
a newer thing for us. And I heard a guy named Gary Vanderchuck. I'm not sure if you know who that is. He's a uh, he became a wine type like tycoon, a millionaire selling wine,
Okay.
but now he's known as people. He encourages people to get their content out on the internet. And he said something that really stuck with me. He said, back from the World War II and earlier, we had the radio, and the radio changed our culture, and families got together to hear programs, hear the news, and hear music on the
Mhm.
radio. And then the 1950s came, and then television came, and that changed the whole world, and that became the center of communication. He says,
Mhm.
he says, now in this day and age, it's already happened. We are now in the age where it's the internet that has replaced the television as
Mhm.
primary center. And he said this. He said, if you do not have a presence online, it's like you're invisible.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that really that really caused me to say, you know what, I've got to jump in the deep end of the pool and just start. And I'm so glad I did. I remember the feeling of uploading my first video, going, just how is this going to work? And I was so nervous, but I just decided. I told my wife in July, this was early July. I said, this month I start my YouTube channel. I had
Nice.
I had 60 subscribers at that time.
Mhm.
Now I'm fast approaching. It's probably going to happen within the next week or so, where I turn to 2,000 subscribers. Now that might not sound like a ton, but that's
That's a big deal in such a short time. Yeah.
3 months later, what I'm teaching and what I'm sharing seems to be resonating with people, and it's getting faster. The second 1,000 subscribers have come a lot quicker than the first 1,000. So really
That is
excited.
awesome. That
Thank you.
is so awesome. Don't you
Yes.
love to just see that what you're doing is not a waste? You know,
Yes.
that
Yes.
you're
Because
like, oh,
and I know you know how hard work this is. I mean, this is a lot of work putting this together.
absolutely. Absolutely. You are so right. So I want to give the people an opportunity to hear more of your playing.
Yes.
So we're
Yes.
going to play a little video.
Great.
Here we go, y'all.
Should I preface the video? This is a gig.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a gig from last year in September that I put together the band that's on the album. Two of the members were coming from New York City. The sax player Troy Roberts and the drummer Jay Sawyer, and the rest of the group was from Chicago. So I booked a weekend of gigs at the world famous Andy's Jazz Club on Hubbard Street in Chicago. And this is a clip from the title track of my latest album. This is Urbanessence.
If you want to hear more, you go get the album.
That's right.
I didn't want to stop it. I really didn't. But so I guess you guys can play a little bit. I don't know. I suppose, you know. That was
Thank you.
awesome. I enjoy listening to all of that and just watching how much you get into it. Do you
Thank you.
enjoy performing live more or recording?
Oh, there's no question. It's live. The interaction you get. Yeah, recording is it's got the ambiance of a hospital. You know, it's like it's just everything is very dry in there, and there's you're getting no feedback
Right.
from any other people. So it can be a more of a nerve wracking experience, especially at the beginning of a recording session. Now I was able to record my album over 2 days, back to back days, two long 8 hour sessions or so. And there's
The whole
breaks.
album?
The whole album, yeah, yeah, absolutely,
Go ahead.
yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, and there's 11 tracks on the album. So
Wow.
but early on it's like it's really easy because you know that an album is forever, and putting out an album that's literally going to outlive me. It's like that's kind
Mhm.
of a legacy that I'm leaving behind of who I am as an artist, and at least where I was right now during this time that I'm recording. You're documenting
Yeah.
your musical journey. And so when you think like that in the beginning, it's like everything's got to be perfect. Everything's got to be perfect. But what starts to happen, and thankfully I've got quite a bit of experience doing it now, is that once you get rolling and you already have a few takes in there, now you kind of start forgetting somewhat about all of the microphones set up, and you start trying to get
Mhm.
into that creative space. And I'll tell you what the real uh, trick to success, if there's any trick, is just hire musicians that are givers, and that's what each of these musicians
Mm.
are. Troy Roberts um, on the saxophone, Jay Sawyer on the drums, Ben Lewis on piano, Clark Summers on the bass, and then my good friend on Latin percussion, Victor Gonzalez. Every single one of them is a professional of the highest order, but they're constantly listening to one another, and like I never feel like I'm on an island by myself. I feel like if I throw out an idea, they're gonna like give it back to me in some way, or they're gonna support
Mhm.
me. And
Nice.
it always feels like a group, and I think that sensibility really comes out on the album. We've got a lot of different styles on the album too, so this was more of a
Okay.
Afro-Cuban, like a modern Afro-Cuban feel and rhythm to it. But we
Hmm.
have beautiful slow ballads on the album. We got some funk on there, and we've got some more traditional sounding music from Puerto Rico, for example. So it's all in
Okay.
there. Yeah.
All right. That's wonderful. So y'all have that synergy.
Yes, that's a
Yeah.
great word. That's the perfect word for it. Synergy. And I try to put bands together that have that. It honestly, I mean, and I think you have a lot of experience in the music industry, so you know what one bad apple does to the whole group, right?
Yes. Oh
Someone
yes.
someone who is really not valuing the collective, but really has their focus and their agenda, and that just kind
Hmm.
of can suck the spirit of the music out, and so
Absolutely.
I'm so thrilled with the synergy and I think it comes across in the music on this album.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I can't wait to hear more. Oh, time's going out so fast. It's just so. What I want to do right now, I'm going to play the Find the Fake again and give you time to talk about the things that are on the
Great,
list.
great.
All right. So here we go. We're going to play one more time, and you guys will have until the end of the show to guess. I'll be watching. All right. Here we go. So I'm going to handle this a little differently this time around. I am not going to have you give them the right answer. What I'm going to give you the opportunity to do now is to talk about the things on there and they can figure out which one is not the right answer. So
Wow.
let's go. Run it.
Okay. So but so you don't mind me? I'm going to be giving like one answer at a
Yes.
time, right? Okay.
Let's hope
Okay.
they're good
Great.
listeners.
Well, let's talk about Phil Collins. Is that a real thing that I played with Phil Collins? And the that
Yes.
actually is true. In fact, that's the longest tour that I've ever done in my life. It was 2 months playing with the Phil Collins Big Band. Now, Phil Collins is known for obviously his work with Genesis, the rock group, and then eventually he blew up on his own, with all of the hits in the 80s and 90s. And but he was a drummer to begin with,
Okay.
with Genesis. And when the lead singer Peter Gabriel left, then Phil Collins took over the lead vocal roles. But he's a drummer at heart, and his favorite drummer of all time was a big band jazz drummer named Buddy Rich. And so he had always had the dream of touring with his own big band. And so it's a long story to tell you how I was able to make that collaboration, but I was able to make the collaboration, and I was in a beautiful section. We did 3 weeks in the actually before we even started the tour, which we started in San Francisco. He flew out the entire big band. This was a lot of people. Okay, this was over 20 people. He
Oh,
flew
wow.
us out to his house, his hometown where he lives in Lausanne, Switzerland, on Lake Geneva. And we were there for 11 days rehearsing in preparation for the whole tour. And then we flew back out to San Francisco, and we toured San Francisco, Los Angeles, came through Texas, and then the Midwest, played Taste of Chicago, played Milwaukee Summerfest, and we ended up at Carnegie Hall in New York City. And then we had about 4 days off from that leg of the tour, and then we started right in Copenhagen, Denmark, and we visited 10 countries in Europe in the next month after that. It was an
Wow.
incredible, incredible experience. It was really my first exposure to, kind of the touring on the pop world. Because even though we were playing big band, we were playing like his hits, but kind of big band arrangements of them. But
Yeah.
but the people who knew him are obviously all in the pop world, and it was
Hmm.
incredible backstage. The people that we would meet, I met Jimi Hendrix family, and we met Quincy Jones and Shaka Khan, and yeah, we all of these people coming out to our shows.
Nice. Nice.
So that
So
that
that's
kind of takes care
one.
of that one. That's actually true. Okay, what about another one? What about Tito Puente, the great Latin? He's probably not probably. I'd say he's the most important Latin musician in terms of really putting Latin music on the map in America in the 1950s with his mambo orchestra. A lot of people don't realize the tune "Oye Como Va" that became famous by the group Santana and Carlos
Mhm.
Santana was actually written by Tito Puente, and
Oh, I did
and
not know that.
and I had the very great fortune of performing with him on two occasions, and they were both when I was a college student. He came and he was a guest artist with my college, and it was my one of my first experiences playing with a giant of his caliber. So I wasn't able to tour
Cool.
with him, but I did get to perform with him on stage, and it was a thrill.
That's awesome. That's good enough.
That's right.
That's two.
Okay, that's two. And so now it's between the two. It's between either I played uh, a solo with Quincy Jones, or I own 20 trumpets and over 100 mouthpieces. I know which one sounds more realistic, but believe it or not, I'm not a gearhead at all. I got to play with the great Quincy Jones, This was an
How
amazing
cool.
experience. This was in 1996. He had a special concert called 50 Years in Music at that time. And if you don't know, Quincy Jones started out as a
Yeah.
jazz trumpet player and a jazz arranger. He used to create arrangements for the Count Basie Orchestra. And so this concert was like taking his earliest music and arrangements and going all the way through. And Shaka Khan was one of the singers on it. David Sanborn, Gerald Albright were artists who were featured on it. Oh, Toots Thielman, who's a very famous harmonica, one of the most famous harmonica players, apart from Stevie Wonder, of course. Um, and yeah, and you can actually find that DVD still. It's for sale. Quincy Jones, 50 Years in Music, live in Montreux, Switzerland. It's a Montreux Jazz Festival, and
I remember that.
I actually take the very first solo of the entire evening that on that concert, and it was one of
So
the greatest musical moments of my life. I think getting to play with the master.
that is so cool.
Yes,
Does your
yeah.
family think you're as cool as I think you're cool?
Absolutely, absolutely. They've supported me since the end. My both of my parents are no longer with us, unfortunately. But I gotta give them credit because unlike you, that came from now, I do feel I came from a musical family in the sense that they love music. But unlike
Mhm.
you, I did not come from a family of professionals who actually made this their living, and so
Okay.
I know they had a lot of trepidation with, oh, this kid wants to pursue music. I guess he's going to live in our basement for the next 30 years. but but the one thing that they did, they always told me, we see how serious you are about practicing and getting better, and so we're going to support you in your decision. And they did, and it was such a great feeling when I finally moved to Chicago and I could tell them, hey, parents, thank you for those checks you've been sending me on occasion. They've been really timely, but I'm actually good. Like I'm taking care of myself now.
Yeah, that's
Good feeling.
nice. That's always a good feeling. Oh, I remember when I started making my own money.
That's
Yes.
right.
It
Right. That's
is
right.
good stuff. That's wonderful. So that's amazing. Thank you so much for coming back and sharing. Uh, I won't say the rest of your story because, of course, it's not the rest of your story, but more of your story.
Yes. More of the story.
And I want to encourage everybody to go onto YouTube, go subscribe,
Yes.
follow him,
Right.
and this is his website. Go ahead
That's
and
right.
write that down, jot it down.
Please go check
You
that out. I'll
yes,
be updating that with performance listings and things like that. So you'll find all of that information there. Thank you.
very nice, very nice. And before we go, as you did before, please share your words of wisdom for the audience.
Oof. Words of wisdom for the audience. Um, Go see live music because there's there's no there's no other energy like being in the room supporting live music, whatever your genre is. It doesn't have to be jazz, but I'll tell you, we lost that in the pandemic for over a
Yeah,
year. uh, the performance and gig economy basically collapsed overnight, and I don't know about you, but it reminded me of how important that is to just feeling alive. It
yes,
can be very life can easily turn into paying bills and just doing the grind and that type of thing.
yeah.
One of the greatest jazz drummers was named Art Blakey, and he always had this quote that he would share. He said, music washes away the dust of everyday life. And
Ooh, I like yeah.
yeah, so schedule an outing where you're going to to see live music and be in the room while the music is being created. There's nothing that we musicians love more than feeding off of the energy of a listening crowd, a listening ears. So, hey, we all need it. The artists need it, and you all need it too.
That's right. Amen.
All right.
Okay, I agree with that. And remember to embrace God's perfect design, which is you.
Yes.
Till next time, we will be right here. Wait, before I say that, don't let me lie to y'all. I do believe that next week I will not be here because I will be at a concert. Thank you.
Oh, there we go.
I'm
Hey, look
living
at
my
that.
life too. Okay.
Yes.
So you will have to catch me on the flip side the following Friday. And then we will be here for you with Pure Live once again, Friday night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Good night.
Good night. Asia, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you and to talk music with you. And I'm just so honored that you would invite me on to talk about my music and my life. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and you're always welcome to come back.
Okay.
All right. Night.
Good night.
Weeping lasted all night. I know that joy comes in the morning light. So I march on to a new song, 'cause I've been marching to that old one way too long. And I gotta move on and take new steps every day. I know there is got to be